There we go. Okay. And I think that's all. I think it's time to hand over to Tom.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Luton Irish Forum 2021 AGM. Hope everybody can hear us okay. My name is Tom Scanlon, and I'm the chair of the Luton Irish Forum, and I've got my trustees with me today. So I'm going to introduce the trustees, and they will wave their hands so that you can actually identify them. So I'm going to start off with my vice chair, Mary Winter, our secretary, Marion Curtis, Luke Kitching, our treasurer, Pauline Sylvester, our assistant treasurer, Dee Drillen, trustee, Noreen Tellett, MBE trustee, Mick Maguire, trustee, Elisa Rusty, trustee, and Jill Grant, who is joining us by Zoom. Thank you. Thank you. A special welcome to all our guests. Mark Covert's auditor, Sarah Owen, MP, Councillor Hazel Simmons, Luton Borough Council, Sandra Hayes, Luton Borough Council, Jude Perry, Irish Embassy, and Donna Duffy, Irish Youth Foundation. Their apologies for absence. Denise Sadler, trustee, who for work purposes is standing down, cannot attend. Rachel Hopkins, MP. Seamus McGarry, Ireland from the Great Britain. Mark Turner, London Luton Airport Limited. Sanjay Kumar, Sri Guru Ravidas. Linda Tanner, Irish Youth Foundation. Lucy Gardner, the Harper Trust. And Lord Phil Mackenzie. Thank you. A number of our members passed away this year, including our founder member, John Hutchinson, who passed away at Christmas. John was a stalwart of the Luton Irish Forum from its foundation in 1997. Former trustee, organiser of the annual Sean O'Reilly Gaelic Mass, sung at Luton St. Patrick's Festival, and a very active volunteer in other ways. His community spirit involved in Libre Cultus and the local Labour Party. John, you are sadly missed. And we have a minute's silence now for pay our respects to all our deceased members. Thank you. Thank you very much. We will be having a commemoration service on the 2nd of October to commemorate all the lost friends and colleagues during the year. Thank you very much for that. I would now like to invite Jude Perry from the Embassy of Ireland, Policy Officer and Community and Cultural Environment.
Thank you very much, Tom, and to all the Board of Trustees and the members of the Luton Irish Forum. It's great to be here virtually for your AGM, and I'd just like to compliment all the work you've been doing over a very past challenging year, and all Irish community organisations have been forced to adapt their ways of operating and move online, but it is great to see that you've done that successfully, and this AGM is a testament to that. I suppose on the part of the Irish Embassy, you know, we still seek to support our organisations such as the Luton Irish Forum, and we hope to continue to do that. We know this has been a challenging period for organisations, but as I said, I think the work is down to the membership for keeping these organisations going, and also keeping in touch with vulnerable members of the Irish community in Britain, because this year has been challenging for them as well, as their lives have been disrupted and that face-to-face contact has been missing. But just to conclude, I'd like to thank you for the very kind invitation. I'd like to wish the new board in the next year all the very best, and I hope that when this AGM comes around this time next year, we'll be able to come together in person. But I would like to thank you on behalf of the Embassy for all the work you've been doing for the Irish diaspora and community, and long may it continue. Good.
Thank you very much appreciated. Thank you. Okay, so we move on.
Lord Mackenzie had his hand up. I think he wanted to come in there. Did you?
Oh, no.
Oh, sorry, my apologies.
Just making sure I understood the technology.
Okay.
Lord Bill is with us now. Yes, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we're going to move on to the minutes of the previous AGM, which was on the 22nd of August 2020. We've all had copies of the minutes. We've had a chance to read them. If you are ready, could we have a proposal and seconder to accept the minutes as a true and correct record? Yes, we have Marion, Pauline, and Luke. Thank you very much. Is there any matters arising from the minutes that anybody wishes to raise again? Please raise your hand. Then I believe all the matters are covered, but at the same time, if you need to raise anything, by all means, raise your hand and Nicola will let you in. Thank you. So if there's no questions or comments, then we'll move on to approval of the annual accounts and invite the chair's report. Yes. Again, you've had copies of the chair's report, which sometimes can be lengthy, so we try and keep it as short as possible. But copies of the document, the Luton Irish Forum document, has been sent out to everybody we've got email addresses for, and anybody who wishes to have a copy, just contact us and we'll get you the document. So I'm going to put the glasses on for this and try and bring everybody up to date on what we've been trying to do during the year and what we have achieved. Which so Fáilte Roid go léir, welcome to you all. It gives me great pleasure on behalf of our CEO, Noel Henley, and the Board of Trustees of the Luton Irish Forum to welcome you all and offer my sincere thanks to the staff, trustees, volunteers and members for your loyalty and understanding during this past challenging year. Our staff and volunteers have continued to provide essential services throughout this difficult time, offering advice, support, befriending and shopping for the most vulnerable, whilst our secretary and other volunteers made regular contact with members by phone and social media. All these activities have been so beneficial for our members' well-being. In September, we opened up our clubs in a COVID-safe way with reduced capacity. However, we were just thankful that we were able to organise and supply Christmas lunches before we were required to close again for the winter lockdown. From the lovely comments we received, we know just how much the Christmas lunches meant to our members. Following the latest lockdown, our staff and volunteers once again faced up to the challenge of engaging with other clubs and members by Zoom, providing support and regular newsletters. We also held a number of successful virtual events, the first of which was our AGM 2020. We hosted an interesting cultural seminar on the theme of partition, hosted by Ivan Gillens. St. Bridget's Day included an introduction by Ambassador Adrian O'Neill and focused on Irish women in comedy, made all the more special with afternoon tea delivered to individual homes. Lockdown was still in effect on St. Patrick's Day, where we celebrated with cabbage and bacon lunches and snack boxes, which members enjoyed at home. A quiz night attended by leader of the council, Hazel Simmons, our two local MPs, and culminating in our iconic centre being lit up in our favourite colour, green. My special thanks to all our funders and supporters and friends who made these celebrations possible. So while it's been a difficult year for many, it has been also a year of extreme kindness and caring and the coming together of communities to get us through the pandemic. Given that the majority of the most vulnerable have now received their second vaccination and a roadmap is outlined for a return to near normal, I'm more confident that we can get back together for a great summer. We look forward to celebrating our volunteers' achievement as they receive the Queen's Award for Voluntary Service, which they so well deserve, on the 23rd of July. Thank you. Now we need to approve the annual accounts, and I'm going to ask Mark Hubbox from Wagstaff to, and perhaps Luke Kitching, our treasurer, to elaborate on the accounts which are posted on the screen. Thank you. Mark, are you with us?
Yeah, I am indeed. Can you hear me?
Lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, so thanks again for inviting me along. So I always get the fun part of going through the numbers, the exciting part of the show, as they say. I can see on the looks on people's faces, they probably don't agree with that, but here we go. Keeps me off the streets. So I think first and foremost, when you sort of sit back and look at the year that you've had, I think it's probably fair to say that the speed of which you've adapted, the way you've been able to get hold of additional funding with your funding partners, and that's been critical, I think, to charities, not least to the Irish Forum. When we look at just the headlines, and I'll just take you through the headlines, total income is just over 415,000 against just shy of 400 last year. But that doesn't tell the full story. The full story there is that you can clearly see that because the main buildings forcibly closed because of lockdowns, a number of the key things of face-to-face meetings has not been able to go ahead. So to plug quite a big gap, It has been absolutely critical to be supported with funding partners such as the Irish government, who had funded just shy of 40,000 extra in the year. And also the Reaching Communities programme, which also managed to raise just over 30,000 extra funding in the year. And I think, again, slightly to the side of this, it just proves how critical that charities like the Irish Forum will be going forward in connecting communities together. Because a charity like yours is now the heartbeat. The community is so critical. The power of this community is strong, and the amount of overlap you've now got, not just with, you know, dare I say, Irish descendants like us, but other communities as well. So, you know, that funding, as you can see, the shape of what you're doing is far wider than probably it was at the start. So that's the good news. Obviously, we've had that additional funding. Yes, the charity also received some coronavirus funding that was around as well. So again, that kind of shows the number there. When we look at the expenses, again, just going through the headlines of the expenses. Again, the expenses broadly the same, a little bit down, just simply because of, you know, again, operations being very different. A number of things now being done online. So obviously the direct costs associated with that are a little bit less. So it does actually look like on paper, we generated a real surplus of 33,000 for the year. But as I always said, and at the risk of sounding boring, but I am an accountant, I'm allowed to be boring. Your charity does rely on volunteers. And I think there's a calculation somewhere that Nolette had given me that just over 3,300 hours were volunteer hours. And if you costed those, a little calculation is that would have cost you just over, well, just under 40,000. So the reality is, yes, you made a surplus on paper, but if you actually delivered with costed wages, you would have broadly broke even and again made a small loss. So the positive story at the end of this year, this March, is again, you can see there you're in good financial health. Your unrestricted funds are just shy of 200,000. And again, when you break that down and tie that back in with the reserves policy, you're carrying broadly 6 months of total expenses, which is a good place to be. I think the challenge will be this year, whilst funding was available last year because of, you know, we all know about coronavirus now. Going forward, I think the challenging thing will be funding now and being able to deliver the work now, and that will probably come at an expense now. So I think, yes, it looked good last year. It will be what happens this year, which I think is critical. So yeah, that's pretty much the numbers.
Are there any questions or comments on the report by Mark? If you have any questions, raise your hands and Nicola will after you. Again, copies of that report can be obtained from, if you make contact with the forum. So can we please then have a proposer and seconder for the accounts, that the accounts are a true and correct record? We have Denise, Deirdre, and Luke. Okay. Thank you very much for that, and Mark, thank you for all your assistance. Thanks very much for that and your excellent report. Thank you. Now the next item should be motions. We haven't had a motion this year. That was part of the difficulties in making contact, but we have no motion. So my next item then is election for Board of Trustees. What I can tell you is there were 4 vacant positions for trustees. As a charitable company limited by guarantee, the trustees must retire in rotation, 1/3 each year. This helps to ensure continuity for LIF service and activities. Denise Sadler is retiring due to work commitment, and I would like the opportunity to thank Denise for her contribution, and I'm pleased that she will remain with LIF as a volunteer. Denise has given apologies today, but we will acknowledge her contribution on her return. Nick Maguire, Jill Grant and Deirdre Drennan are eligible and have been nominated and wish to stand for a further 3-year term. All candidates stand unopposed and are therefore automatically elected onto the Board of Trustees. Other nominated members were unable to stand, therefore the board will consider co-opting a trustee following the AGM.
Tom, we have a few people use their hands up function, so I just want to check if we've got some questions. Mark, were we clapping or? Okay, sorry.
It was the clap. It was the clap button.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So now we've reached a project update, and I'm going to start with the welfare, social integration of service and digital skills. We're going to have a report on all those issues. So I'm going to ask Nicola to do a first contribution. Nicola McLaughlin will report on welfare and social.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Okay, I just wanted to give you a brief update, and you have to bear with me because I'm running the presentation and speaking to it. Okay, so obviously it's been an unusual year for everybody. So during the initial lockdown, most of our clients contacted us by telephone, and most of the casework took place over the phone or by post, which is a complete change for us because we usually work mostly face-to-face. Initially, we suspended our weekly self-referral system and we took cases on a rolling basis because we recognised that people were really anxious about that change and anxious about getting issues resolved while everywhere was closed because some cogs were still turning. Since September, we returned to the weekly self-referral where clients call on a Tuesday and their initial inquiry is taken by a member of the welfare team so they can get some initial advice, signposting on if it's not going to be an appropriate case for us to take. Or then the case is allocated to a caseworker to take that forward. So online, we all have to use online. The whole world is online now, but the pandemic has kind of really pushed us to look at how we can use that with our clients. So we made the most of any digital skills our clients had. If they were able to send us emails, and email us documents or keep in contact with us that way. We even had somebody who we helped with a housing application by Zoom. And we've used Zoom and Microsoft Teams and those types of platforms to keep in touch with each other, but also to keep in touch with other professionals about joint clients. So a lot of that work has gone on where it might have been a face-to-face meeting. A lot of that has still gone on online. And we've also been able to support clients to make benefit claims and submit their appeals online to make although the services are moving that way, to enable people to be able to take advantage of those quicker forms of getting those things in, and sometimes where it is compulsory for them to do them online and they need that support. So face-to-face, after the initial face-to-face contact was suspended to protect everybody, we quickly put in place some measures so that we could provide face-to-face contact where it absolutely was needed. And that enabled the service to assist a number of families in making emergency passport applications during the what we'll call the first lockdown. And then at a later stage, we were able to introduce some face-to-face where clients really couldn't engage over the phone because of their vulnerabilities or because the service they needed from us didn't allow for us to do it over the phone, posts, etc. And by the end of the 2021 year, we were doing a kind of a hybrid service. So we have been providing face-to-face for clients where it's the best way of progressing their case and where it's safe. So we looked at things like the person's health conditions, but also, do they drive? Can they get here in their own car? Or do they need to come on public transport where it's a higher risk? So we looked at each case by case. As always, much of our work happens without the client present, whether that's physically present or on the phone, including form filling, researching solutions to their problems, sending correspondence on their behalf and contacting third parties. There was an average of an hour and a half work done behind the scenes for every face-to-face or telephone interview that we completed with clients this year. So the outcomes, obviously money is a big one. Even though this year a lot of the sources of financial gains, so appeals and assessments were on hold for a large chunk of time and they were slowed down, we were still able to secure a little under £1 million for clients, which is great. But aside from money, there's lots of other benefits. So there are improvements to individuals' health, and our telephone survey found there was a significant impact on health and well-being, with 82% reporting they visited their GP less often, 91% found it easier to sleep, mental well-being improved, with 91% feeling less anxious, irritable or stressed, and 89% feeling less down. Interestingly, 78% said they drank or smoked less as a result of engaging with our service, but less than half of them had initially attributed their problems to making them smoke or drink more. So it's a good indicator that it's a good impact on overall well-being. Okay, a recent comparison of our feedback data from the last 4 years showed that clients reported increased positive impacts on their well-being, with results being between 7 and 28% higher in 2020 compared to the previous years. They reported they found it easier to sleep, felt less anxious, felt reduced isolation, felt more supported, and acted on the advice to resolve the issue. And it shows how significant an impact the service had on areas of well-being which were known to be particularly affected by the pandemic. And finally, the majority of people who felt more supported after their interaction with LIF, 98%, which is a higher percentage than said the issue was causing them feel unsupported, felt more supported. And this might indicate that people aren't always aware of the impact the issue is having on them until it is resolved. Everybody interviewed said they could deal with the issue and feel more in control after support from LIF, and everyone indicated they acted on the advice to resolve the issue. That's it. Any questions?
Anybody got questions?
No.
No, thank you, Nicola. Thanks very much. Yeah. So now I'm going to ask Janet to give a presentation. Janet's our volunteer officer. So, Janet, please.
Thanks, Tom. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, Janet.
Okay, I'm Janet Brennan. For those of you who haven't seen me, I'm volunteering officer at Luton Irish Forum. Just give you a quick rundown of some of what our social groups and activities have been up to. Unfortunately, they weren't allowed to meet in person for much of the year due to the COVID restrictions, but some groups, such as calligraphy, Irish language, the art class and tea and chat, did meet by Zoom, and that became a real lifeline, although many members are unable to access online or online events. So thank you to the volunteers and members whose support made the Zoom get-togethers possible. For members stuck at home while visiting others weren't allowed, our befriending service moved to contact by phone, and we made dozens and dozens and dozens of calls each week to different members just to have a chat, and we extended that service to include members who previously attended social groups but weren't coming out anymore. Because of our wonderful volunteers, it meant we were also able to offer shopping for members who were isolating at home and had no family or friends to help. Gradually, as restrictions eased, and with precautions and guidelines in place to make the building as safe as possible, things such as assessing risk, hand sanitisers, one-way system, social distancing, face coverings, and serving light refreshments at the tables to cut down a lot of walking around. And we were able to welcome back limited numbers, which was really wonderful, from October to the middle of December. You can see on the slide, for those that are on Zoom, pictures of some of our volunteers. If you're not you'll see the pictures in the annual report. If you can click onto the next slide, which are just more pictures of some of our members as well and volunteers. Fortunately, before the restrictions tightened again at Christmas, we were able to serve about 80 Christmas dinners to members on site, and another 50 were delivered to people in their homes. These Christmas dinners and deliveries were all organised by a volunteer, so well done and a massive thank you. And in fact, all our volunteers were more essential than ever this year in helping members throughout the COVID pandemic. Some of what they've done this year, volunteers, the trustee board, remember, are all volunteers, and they're using their skills, knowledge and time, and they've helped us steer us as an organisation through a challenging year. Our befriended volunteers were hot on the phones all year, chatting away to people. They shopped for self-isolating members, sometimes in very challenging conditions at the beginning of the pandemic. And a couple of months in autumn, they were responsible for welcoming people back to the clubs. On top of all that, they kept accounts, mailed newsletters, planted various sunflowers around our fence. Some painted the fence, all that. I think somebody mentioned that in total, volunteers contributed over 3,300 hours, which is quite massive. And that, if you wanted to put a value on it, although I think it's beyond value, it's in the region of £40,000, the value of that time. So that is massive when you think what's happened. And if we can click onto the next slide. Thanks, Nicola. Yeah. Our volunteers were recognised in the High Sheriff Citizenship Awards. Our befrienders as a group, well done, were runner-up in the group category, and Keith, who runs the art class, was runner-up in the adult volunteer category. But the massive highlight of the year was, of course, the Queen's in June 2020, when the volunteer group at Luton Irish Forum were named as recipients of the Queen's Award for Voluntary Service. The QAVS is a national honour in the UK. It's created by HM the Queen to recognise the outstanding contributions groups of volunteers make to local communities. And for the group, it has the equivalent status as an MBE for individuals. So well done. It couldn't be more thoroughly deserved. I mean, any of us involved with the forum know how valuable our volunteers are, not just for the magnificent work done in the run-up to getting the award, but for all the years before. Well done, and a massive thank you to all our volunteers. I want everybody to give the volunteers a clap, because you are what make us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Janet. That's great. Thank you. And now I'm going to ask Fiona Martin, our generational officer, to come and make a presentation.
Fiona. Hi everyone. I'm Fiona, I'm the Youth and Heritage Officer. So I've been working on our ESP funded programme, which we call Generation Irish. We, due to COVID and all the restrictions, our original plan couldn't go ahead. So we requested a project change, which was accepted. We identified really early on into the pandemic that there was a real potential to have a loss of culture, with members being isolated, us very uncertain about how we can keep the community connected. Also, the impact of such as dance schools not being able to meet, the sports teams not being able to play and train, different groups not being able to meet. It really challenged cultural delivery and what that looked like in a time where it was really important to keep the community connected. And one of those strands that the Irish Forum has always had its strength in is through its culture activities. So we put in a request to change the project, and it was to start looking at how do we support members to stay connected online. How do we move our events online? How do we support other groups who can't meet or are meeting remotely, such as the dance schools? That completely changed how they operated, and was there anything that we could do to support and then also offering those groups up-to-date information and support on the change in regulations due to the restrictions. Next slide, please, Nicola. So our events had to go online. Sorry, let's get my notes up. Yeah, our events went up online. We still managed to have a full calendar. In the beginning, we relied heavily on our social media, and our social media proved to be an integral part of our cultural engagement through the year. We managed, because we were in between lockdowns, we managed to deliver Halloween workshop to a young person disability group at Tocco Youth Space in Luton. And then we partnered with Luton Community Action Group to deliver online cultural activities with our community, plus also the wider community, engaging and reaching high numbers, total of just over 15,000 people engaged with our posts and our online activities. We also republished an e-booklet, which is of Irish traditions, which went down well, and there was lots of comments about from people from other communities about how interesting it was to learn about our traditions. We hosted our annual seminar, but this time for the first time online. It was with Dr. Ivan Gibbons about the partition of Ireland. This is very successful. We had 85 people attend. Interestingly, our age ranges and our demographics of first, second, and third generation and non-Irish was actually very similar to our normal physical events. People commented on how they were really pleased that we were able to have moved this event online, especially when it was to mark a very important part of Irish history. Although moving online was challenging, and we lost some audience because of the digital divide, we also increased and gained a new audience, and we had attendees from as far as Edinburgh, Ireland, Brazil and America. We also then went into our rounds of our big annual events, and as you can see, these images are from St Bridget's Day. Our usual event, which is obviously at Partridgeberry with an afternoon tea, we thought very cleverly how we could do this. So we worked with a local Irish caterer. So we delivered our afternoon tea online, but we were able to deliver afternoon teas to people's homes. So we actually joined each other online, but we all joined together with a fantastic afternoon tea. Again, that was really well attended with 75 guests. And again, an e-booklet was made, presentations, there was lots of raffles and lots of laughs. People did comment that they were so pleased that we, again, were able to do this, as it was a morale boost, and it was just great to get that kind of communal feeling, even through just having the same afternoon tea. Next slide, Nicola. So St Patrick's Day, it was what do you do in the absence of our big festival? So at this point, our restrictions were really tight, so all our activity had to be online. We had a St Patrick's Day quiz, which was greatly attended, and everyone feedback that they definitely got the St Patrick's spirit through that event. We did lots of digital communications, lots on our social media, and we still produced our festival guide full of activities, Story St Patrick's, events that we were up to through the year. For the idea of keeping people connected, we actually designed and printed a physical St Patrick's card and sent them out for free to members, and people reported back that they were sending each other St Patrick's greetings. We still sold some merchandise for people who are celebrating at home. We also thought, how do we reach our most isolated community members? So the team organised and teamed up with O'Shea's Bar and Grill, a local Luton pub, to deliver cabbage and bacon dinners to our most isolated members for St Patrick's Day. And we did online fundraising towards that with donations going to O'Shea's chosen charity of the NICU units at Luton Dunstable Hospital. We did our Jerusalem challenge, which was trending on TikTok. So we did our own version. So we recorded a video which got just over 4,000 views, I think. And again, if we have time later, we can show that. That got great views, and it was great for the staff to do that. If it was just us in the car park, it was fantastic just to be able to do something. And we really had a buzz around the building that day. We supplied St Patrick's family activities, so people and children especially had activities to do at home. Our usual school, Foxdale Infants, who we would deliver St Patrick's Assembly. We did a recorded message from St Patrick's, which the RE teacher particularly commented on, saying it brought a tear to her eye. And they were very extremely pleased that we thought of them. So overall, St Patrick's was successful, even though everyone agreed we are still missing our actual festival. Next slide, Nicola. We will also be able to be responsive. So we had snowfall at one point. So we jumped online and said we'll do a snowman competition. Again, it was a great way of engaging the community online. And the winner was actually Irish member of the community, but it was actually a new member to our social media. So we run a little competition, and we had nearly we had about 30 snowmen all in all. So we had a whole team of Irish snowmen that day. Next. So overall, we had just under 300 participants engage with us online for our events. Interestingly, the breakdown of first, second and third generation and non-Irish actually kept on trend with our previous years, showing that we were still able to reach our audiences and we were still offering what the audience wanted. Our social media engagement increased because people were using it more, obviously. These numbers are actually quite small because they're an average, so they're not a reflection of actual numbers. So the actual numbers were much greater than documented here. It also meant that we built a strategy for online of a combination of keeping people informed, but also a real focus on keeping morale up. So a lot of heartwarming stories and a lot of comical posts, and just balancing that with practical COVID information that people needed. Next slide, thanks, Nicola. So we asked what, so we were obviously lots of observations, lots of number crunching, but actually we asked, you know, were people, what our social media engagement meant to them. So these are just a few comments which will show you how important it was to people. It's helped me with keeping up to date with the community. Also, it's given me a few giggles as well, which has lifted my spirits during the lockdown. Thank you. It's been great seeing you all here, reading the comments. It really helped me on the lonely days. It kept us all in touch with each other. Tea, chat, the quiz, the bingo, the laughter helped keeping you going, knowing you were there online the next week. Thanks for all your help. Very helpful. It helped keep me in touch with the amazing team at the forum. You're all mad, by the way. It helped me feel part of the community. It has been a privilege to be part of a few of the wonderful events you managed to put on over the past year and a bit. Thank you, one and all. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fiona. Thanks a lot for that. And now I'm going to ask Sue Curran to update us on the Simba programme. Sue, please.
We can't hear you very clearly, Tom. You might need to speak up a little bit.
All right. Yeah, I'm asking now for Sue to come and speak to us. Yeah, Sue Curran, who's running the Assembly programme for us here at the forum.
Lovely, thank you, Tom. I'm Sue Curran. I'm currently running the Luton Digital Skills and Employment Project. It's a European socially funded project. It's in partnership with the Bangladesh Youth League and Diversity Training. And the whole purpose of the project is to enable people to gain digital skills and help them to get back into employment. So it's particularly the most vulnerable people, the over 50s, because they're not used to using digital, and also women who have been so economically inactive, just to help them get back into employment. Obviously, it's been a major challenge with all the lockdowns and everything else, and people not being able to have access to the to computers or tablets and things like that. So it has been quite challenging being able to get some of the people to engage in the project. So initially, when everybody was signed, the first group was signed up, we then went into a lockdown, and over half of those people didn't have access to a laptop and so forth. So nothing really happened with them until we come into the new year. Where people did have access, was able to do things with them one-to-one. So whether that be on the phone, a lot on Zoom, so doing Word, Excel and PowerPoint, and obviously Zoom, so teaching people how to use Zoom, and also using the Learn My Way, which was very good for a lot of the people to get involved with. We've got set targets to achieve, and over the 3 years of the project, the targets are we need to achieve 244 people to go through the programme. We've currently had 19 go through the programme, and obviously that's because with the lockdown, it's been very difficult to engage with people. We've done big marketing campaign to try and get people to come forward that need the help. It's about just getting them to engage where they can get their employment assistance, create their CV, how to job search, how do they apply, the whole application process, taking them through to the interview and selection skills. One of the biggest challenges really is people don't know how to apply online. All employers now, if you want to advertise a position, it goes online. The older generation, they want to take their piece of paper and they want to give it to somebody, but that's not how employers are going. So the whole point of the project is to enable them to get the skills to be able to do that. We've had some successes where we've managed to get some people into employment, which is great. And they've acknowledged that the assistance that we've given them has enabled them to do that, and they felt that they wouldn't have been able to do that without our assistance. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Sue. Thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely crucial experience. Thanks a lot. Thank you. So now we've reached the stage of any other business. Anybody or attendees about your groups? If any of you want to say anything in relation to your groups, the team chat. Mary, do you want to say anything about it?
I would just like to thank everybody for we had 5-year anniversary for Team and Chat. I'll start again.
A silent chat, yes.
Team Chat, we actually started 5 years ago in June, so we've now been going for the 5 years. I'd like to thank all our members, our friends, everybody that's actually attended Team Chat, because without them we wouldn't have kept going. It just started one day at a trustees meeting. We were cancelling the activity of Keep Fit because we hadn't got enough people coming. So we had a spare room. So I suggested to Nolette and the board that we just run a tea and chat. And she said, well, if you want to, you get on with it. That's what I've done. And then it's actually been going 5 years. I'm absolutely thrilled. The fact that it's gone that long, and just thank everybody and the forum for letting us host this year, and that we've kept going for this long. So thank you all very much. Thank you.
We've also got our bingo classes back again on the Tuesday and Wednesday. Clubs are coming back gradually. We'll have about 2 sessions on a Wednesday, 1 session on a Tuesday. Marion said the tea and chat. Some of you might see those lovely paintings here with the art class are in here on a Friday. And some other of the groups are starting to come back again, including the calligraphy group are working online, some fantastic stuff on Facebook. So we are gradually returning to new normal. Hopefully we will be able to work through. Again, we are awaiting the announcements from the Prime Minister and the scientists, and we will be guided by that. We have on all occasions tried to do as best we can for our members, but also stay safe, and sometimes that has been quite a lot of work for some of our people. But anyway, thank you very much for that. I just wanted to draw your attention to the, we currently have 375 members of the Luton Irish Forum, looking at ways to increase numbers. So if any of you believe that we did well over the period, and you want to get somebody else involved, by all means, talk them into it and get them to contact us. Membership was rolled over due to lockdown, and we will be restart again on the 1st of September. And there will be 2 types of membership: standard £5 per year, which is where we were before the lockdown, and enhanced family at £10 per year. This will give members added bonuses, e.g. 10% off at your retailers all day on Monday. So you've got a shopping trip as well, tied into that every Monday for the bacon and the cabbage maybe. Anyway, so that's the point in trying to hopefully.
I'm sorry, our friend, I guess from the embassy, had his hand up. I think he wanted to come in there.
Oh, thank you. No, I just like to compliment you on that very thorough presentation and for all the work you're doing. But something I forgot to mention when I spoke was that during the week the embassy opened our new consulate in Manchester, covering the north of England, and our new Consul General Sarah Mannion is now in place there, covering that area. So I just wanted to mention that we have a new presence now in the north of England, and it was quite a historic presence. The first time ever that a consulate is open there to support the Irish community there. So I just thought the meeting might like to be aware of that information, that we launched that this week. Thank you.
For that, and one of the trips we make for every Christmas is a trip to Manchester. So hopefully we'll get back into normal. But we obviously keep in touch with the embassy, and we are very much aware of the progress and absolutely excellent work, and how important it is to us here at Luton. So your contact and your kind words are so well appreciated. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're almost at the end of our business, so it's for me to thank everybody who's joined in today and have given the time, not just today, but all during the year, and have helped the Luton Irish Forum. And as Janet said, volunteers time is so important. But everybody, staff who work so hard, I really can't say enough to appreciate the staff, what they've done in this really difficult time, because not only have they got all the pressures of the COVID and the worries of that and their families, but they actually look after everybody in here at the forum and everybody that contacted them. So I would like to thank everybody who's helped us and worked with us during the year, and hope they will continue to do that. And I wanted to just do a special thanks to Pat Wallace, who has this room and this building in pristine condition today. So I would like to thank you all for getting involved in this AGM.
Tom, Sandra had her hand up. Sandra has her hand up.
Yes, of course. Yeah, yes, I wouldn't respect them. Yeah, please. Okay, Sandra, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I didn't speak yet. I'll try it now. Sorry, I'm late. We just opened a new vaccination centre here down at Farley, so we've had the mayor down here and stuff. But I'd really like to say thank you for all you're doing on behalf of the council. I send apologies from Councillor Simmons. I had all my stuff with me, but things just ran behind. And if anybody hasn't had their vaccination, they have a chance to come down today, tomorrow, or Monday to Farley and get it. But thank you. We really value what you do here in Luton Forum with us.
And absolutely crucial. And anybody who has any concerns about the vaccination, please contact us if you want any advice or if you want to just talk through, and we will talk to you and pay attention. Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to bring the meeting to a close. Thank everybody for their participation, and all our trustees, staff, and all you members and members, important members of our lifeline. And thank you all for joining us today. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello. I am trying to leave, but I just
Bye, everybody. I'm going to kick you all out.